Elend is a character I actually never thought I'd come to enjoy as much as I did during my second read-through of the Mistborn Trilogy. What I eventually thought of as just a boring side character for this Cosmere entry grew into one of my favourite characters from almost any Cosmere books. I suppose one should come to expect that with any book that Brandon Sanderson writes, but it still surprises me whenever it happens. As you may have seen with my character studies of Vin and Kelsier, I've recently finished rereading the Mistborn Trilogy, and I'm evaluating my thoughts and perceptions of the different characters. I initially only planned to do this with Vin and Kelsier, as I considered them to be the prime characters from the story. Little did I know just how much I would come to enjoy Elend as well. In my first read-through I didn't really pay him much mind, but this time I actually paid attention to him and his arc as a character. So today I'd like to give Elend his time in the spotlight. Join me as we look at and begin to unravel the character of Elend Venture. Just a quick moment of your time before we move into the rest of the video. I'm trying to hit a major goal of 10,000 subscribers by my birthday this coming June. If you like the Cosmere or just general fantasy, I make regular videos on those topics, so consider subscribing to stay up with the content, and it would go a long way in helping me reach this big goal. And for those of you who are already subscribed, just know you're absolutely awesome and will always have a special place in my heart. Anyway, thanks for listening, let's get to the rest of the video. Scholar. The first and most obvious aspect to Elend's personality is that he is a scholar. While Elend does eventually become much more than that, he was always really a scholar at heart. And it likely started as a result of the abuse endured at the hands of his father. Straff was very unkind to young Elend and manipulated him throughout his childhood. Without having a mother or father to rely on, Elend turned to books. He devoured books at every opportunity. This eventually aided him in his rebellion against his father's control. Elend would read and be very antisocial at balls and social events as a way to disturb his father, who highly valued the Venture name. Due to reading so extensively, he was also led to ideas that goes against the doctrine of the Final Empire. He became an intellectual revolutionary, rebellious against his father in public, rebellious against the Final Empire in his mind. It's the scholar within Elend that we come to know and love at first. It's the scholar within Elend that defined who he was for the first and greater part of his life. And while Elend underwent many changes that completely changed him from who he once was, the scholar within him was never truly eradicated. Elend would always have the scholar's spirit within him. Leader. Despite his scholarly tendencies, Elend was put into a position where he had to lead people after the death of the Lord Ruler. He had no real experience being a leader, and while he tried to read as many books as he could on the subject, there weren't any books within the Final Empire that could teach him this. Only thanks to the arrival of Tindwyl did he finally begin to change. She taught him how to not only be a scholar but to be a leader, a king. She taught him how to be decisive, strong, ambitious, and ruthless when the time called for it. She also taught him how to be kind, patient, fair, and benevolent when the need arose. Tindwyl taught him all the rules of being a leader. Elend took those rules and made them his own. There was struggle and there was friction, but he eventually learned to take the qualities of a good leader and integrate them into his own personality. This is what eventually allowed him to unite the remains of the Final Empire and lead them to safety. Elend took the knowledge and intellect of a trained scholar, combined it with the strength and duty of a king, and made his own version of it. It wasn't the exact result Tindwyl was aiming for, but he wouldn't be the Elend we know and love had he not put his own spin on it. Warrior. Long after he first donned the hat of the scholar, and well after he first donned the hat of the king, Elend eventually became something he never considered he might actually become. He became a warrior and a general. Elend became a powerful Mistborn, so not only was he this amalgamation of the eager scholar and the trained monarch, but he was also a man who could hold more than his own on the battlefield. And to top it off, he was trained by Vin herself, arguably the most skilled Allomancer to have ever lived. Now, unlike the previous two aspects we discussed, Elend never really let his role as a warrior define him. He was always seen as a scholar and eventually seen as a leader as well, but he wasn't ever really defined by being a warrior. Instead, he incorporated his combat experience into the rest of his personality. Through battle, he learned to never give up despite overwhelming odds. Through battle, he learned the value of being hard and ruthless when the need arose. Through battle, he learned to use every advantage at his disposal. Through battle, he learned the value of trusting his comrades to do what they had to do. Through battle, he learned the value of protecting what he cared about. So yes, Elend is not ever really considered a great warrior, but he was a warrior, and thanks to his time learning to fight and lead men on the field, he became a better king to his people. Thanks to his time on the battlefield, he learned when and how to apply his scholarly knowledge for the best tactical advantage. Man. And finally, when you look at Elend with all of the aforementioned characteristics, you will finally understand that Elend is a man. And I'm not talking about the biological aspects of being a man here. I'm referring to the ideal of a grown man. Let me explain. Elend Venture's story is essentially a coming-of-age story. Despite being an adult when we first meet him, he's still very much a child in many ways. He was a sheltered lordling who couldn't even stand up to his own father, let alone be someone a whole kingdom could rely on. The first book shows us this immature version of Elend take a stand for the first time when he attempts rescuing Vin at the end. The second book shows us the adolescent version of Elend. He's trying to be a leader for his people, but he's failing spectacularly. He knows what has to happen, but doesn't have the experience or maturity to pull it off. Thanks to Tyndall, he finally gets the guidance he needs in order to lead his people. He's no longer a child as he was in the first book, but he hasn't yet fully reached his potential. In the third book, we see how Elend has learned to fight and lead people in battle. He has seen death and has learned how to directly deal with bloody conflict. The boy has learned how to fight and how to protect his people. The boy has learned how to stare death in the face and smile back because that's what his duty requires of him. The boy has finally become a man that can rest the weight of the world on his shoulders. So when you consider the journey that Elend undertook to go from where he started to where he eventually ended up, you can easily see the journey of growth he underwent. He matured into a man that could not only think on and fathom the complexities of the world, but who could also lead his people and fight for their lives if he had to. Elend Venture is a scholar, yes. Elend Venture is a leader, of course. Elend Venture is a warrior, no doubt. But above all, Elend Venture has grown and matured into a man that others can rely on. That is the story of Elend Venture. What do you think about Elend? Am I right in my analysis, or did I make a mistake somewhere? Let me know in the comments below and we'll discuss it. Anyway, that has been it from me for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ben Raven, and I will see you all next time. Take care, everybody.